Everyone who hates when I win. The winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
In an industry where billion-dollar successes often seem guaranteed, Disney's latest chapter has left even seasoned insiders stunned. Snow White, once hailed as the studio's next major live-action event, has quietly disappeared from theaters and streaming platforms alike. Billions of dollars in potential revenue are now considered lost. Merchandise sits untouched on store shelves. And perhaps most strikingly, Rachel Zegler, once positioned as Disney's rising star, faces an uncertain future. What exactly went wrong? And why is Disney now acting as if Snow White never existed? The collapse began in an unexpected place: the theaters themselves. Despite contractual obligations that typically require exhibitors to show Disney's major releases, theater owners began rebelling. Reports surfaced that even weekend showings were drawing shockingly sparse crowds. Desperate to stem the losses, many theaters petitioned Disney for permission to pull the film early. In numerous cases, they simply replaced it with anything else they could secure. The situation came to a head when a short video, filmed inside a showing of Snow White, went viral. The clip showed a nearly empty theater. Not just a light turnout, an almost complete absence of audience. The image struck a chord across the internet, becoming a stark symbol of the film's collapse. International markets were no kinder. In Lebanon, authorities went beyond declining to schedule additional showings. They banned the movie from distribution entirely. Snow White was not just unwelcome in theaters, it was barred from being imported at all. The numbers painted an equally grim picture. Even with Disney's powerful marketing apparatus behind it, Snow White struggled to cross even modest box office milestones. Domestically, it could not reach $100 million. Globally, it lagged far behind expectations, hemorrhaging money that had been invested in production, marketing, and promotional campaigns. Merchandise sales, often a secondary financial pillar for Disney films, fared no better. Limited edition Snow White dolls, clothing lines, and memorabilia designed to generate buzz instead languished on store shelves. Despite strategic scarcity efforts aimed at boosting demand, consumer interest simply never materialized. Meanwhile, a surprising competitor further emphasized the scale of Snow White's failure. The live-action Lilo and Stitch remake, a far less hyped project, was quietly tracking to surpass Snow White's total domestic box office take. And in a fraction of the time, it was a sobering comparison that shook Disney's confidence. Yet the most damaging blows were perhaps not financial, but relational. Behind the scenes, tensions among the cast began surfacing publicly. Gal Gadot, who portrayed the evil queen, offered comments in interviews that, while diplomatic on the surface, hinted at deeper dysfunction. She described a lack of teamwork on set and suggested that creative setbacks had been exhausting for the entire cast. When asked specifically about her experiences working with Rachel Zegler, Gadot chose her words carefully. She stated she would speak more about it when she felt comfortable, fueling a wave of speculation about behind-the-scenes conflicts. Other cast members were even less subtle. Andrew Burnap, who was originally cast in a leading male role, did not attend the film's premiere. Reports later suggested that most of his scenes had been drastically reduced or cut altogether, a possibility Rachel Zegler herself had alluded to during early press events. In interviews, Zegler emphasized that the new adaptation was not about the love story, implying that Burnap's character might not survive the final edits. For an actor investing months into a major project, such public dismissals before release created an understandable rift. The consequences were immediate and far-reaching. Disney, once aggressively committed to its live-action remake strategy, began retreating. Plans for a tangled live-action adaptation, another project expected to involve Rachel Zegler, were quietly cancelled. No official statement was made, no teaser, no promotional hints. The project simply vanished from internal schedules, suggesting a strategic recalibration prompted by the fallout from Snow White. Amid these corporate maneuvers, Rachel Zegler herself became a central figure in the unfolding drama. In the early stages of promotion, she had embraced an assertive and optimistic tone, declaring that her version of Snow White would fix the outdated themes of the original. But as backlash mounted online, the tone shifted dramatically. Rachel began posting emotional videos to social media, including a now famous Instagram story where she fought back tears while addressing her critics. In it, she reflected on her hopes that, despite her flaws and cracks, audiences would still support her work. The situation worsened when she attended a public screening of her own film, bringing flowers and posting photos celebrating the occasion. Unfortunately, the images told a different story. The theatre was nearly empty, the audience scattered sparsely across the seats. Instead of reigniting excitement, the photos became memes, cruel jokes about the gap between expectation and reality. Online commentary dubbed it Snow White and the 7 empty seats, and comparisons to a funeral atmosphere circulated widely. At the same time, another major event crystallized Snow White's fall from grace. The live-action Minecraft movie, released shortly after, stormed the box office. Critics and audiences alike praised it for being light-hearted, fan-centric, and free of overt political messaging. While Snow White struggled to find an audience, Minecraft proved that simple, enjoyable entertainment could still dominate the marketplace. It was a direct repudiation of the strategy Disney had banked on. Industry insiders took note. Reports surfaced that major studios were reconsidering Rachel Zegler for future projects. Casting directors, wary of controversy and financial risk, reportedly placed her on internal watch lists, a euphemism for being quietly passed over. For Disney, the decision was even clearer. The studio appears to be moving away from politically charged reimaginings, focusing instead on safer, nostalgia-driven content. The Snow White experiment was no longer seen as a bold reinvention. It was viewed as a costly miscalculation. In a matter of months, Rachel Zegler went from a celebrated breakthrough star to a cautionary tale. Once considered a potential cornerstone for Disney's next generation of stars, she now faces an uncertain career path. The question remains, can Rachel rebuild her image in an industry that often moves on quickly? Or has the fallout from Snow White permanently altered her trajectory? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. Snow White will be studied not as a triumph, but as a stark warning. A reminder that even the most powerful studios are not immune to missteps, and that public trust once lost is not easily regained.